Welcome to Worth Reviewing, and this is the Skoda Octavia Estate, the car that reminds me quite a bit of Jumbo Joe from Lilo and Stitch. For the people who aren't so keen on the headlights, like myself, behold, the new Octavia is here, with better looking headlights, and will be available to order later this year. Oh yes, but back to this Octavia, well, let's review it. The chances are you've probably been in the back of one of these without realising, as they're quite popular in the taxi world, simply as they're cheap, reliable and seriously practical too. The engine chucked under the bonnet of this Octavia is the 1.6 TDI, making 114 brake horsepower, 0 to 60 in just over 10 seconds, and the top speed is 125 miles an hour. Now, if you're looking at buying one of these Octavias, you won't be necessarily interested in any of that information. What you will be interested in is how many miles per gallon you'll get from this car. From the 1.6 TDI, you'll get around 65 miles per gallon, and that's without a 6th gear. Or, if you like more brake horsepower or power, you can get the 1.5 litre petrol making 150 brake horsepower. Or, for even more brake horsepower, you can get the 2 litre petrol making 245 brake horsepower. And that's only available on the VRS trim level, and that starts at 30 grand. 30 grand for a Skoda. Now, I can't say a lot because I haven't driven one yet, so it's hard for me to say, but I'd imagine buying a VRS Skoda is a bit like going to Sainsbury's or Tesco's or wherever you shop, and you go down the biscuit aisle and you look at buying the nice biscuits. I mean, the ones that taste like almonds or coconuts. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're nice, but they're not as good as the chocolate digestives or Oreos. In other words, Ford Focus ST or Golf GTI. Maybe it's not the ultimate sports car, but how well does it corner? It's nowhere near as fun to drive as its biggest rivals, the Ford Focus or even the Honda Civic, but it's nothing bad at all. The gear changes can feel a little bit notchy if I'm honest, but nothing to an extent. Alternatively, you could buy an automatic transmission, which is the DSG gearbox, for an even smoother drive. Now we've covered the drive, let's move on to the practicality. Starting off with the boot. Now, in the back of this Octavia Estate, we've got a pretty reasonable sized space, which means I can fit stuff in the back, like all my suitcases at once. A lawnmower with my gardening bits to the side, a bed, and even a potato. But in all seriousness, although the boot size space of this is massive, if you look at the differences between the 5-door version and the estate version, the capacity between the two, there isn't a lot of difference, mainly because the 5-door version already has a massive boot. So I've been more inclined to look at the 5-door version over the estate, simply as it's cheaper to buy and looks better. That's my verdict anyway. Let's move on to the front. Now in the front, there's nothing exciting in here, but nothing overly boring at all. One thing I do like, you're gonna laugh at me anyway, is this door handle. I don't know why, I like the feel of it, and it goes really well with this door trim. The silver part of the door trim looks very sleek and very smart. Moving on from the door handle, we've got the driving control buttons down here, or what's left of them anyway, and then in front of that we've got a nice storage compartment which you can close up, which makes it look a lot smarter. Above that we've got the climate control system, which is pretty basic, and on top of that is the infotainment screen. Now, there's something I do like about the infotainment screen on this car, is that there's a sensor just below the screen. So when you put your hand towards the screen, more information will appear, like you can see. So when you put your hand away from it, it looks a lot cleaner and fresher. I just like that idea what the Skoda or Volkswagen has come up with. Something else that is good is that this car, or this infotainment system, is compatible with Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. So if you don't have a sat-nav fitted from factory, although this does, you can still use sat-nav while you're driving. Anyways, let's go for another drive. So it's got some nice features, and it's practical too, but how much does it cost? The estate model starts at just under 20 grand and finishes at just over 33 grand for the VRS trim level. This is the SE technology and starts at just under 21 grand. It's fair to say it's reasonably priced, but is there anything wrong with it? First of all, the majority of these buttons are blanked off, and even on the top of the spec models, most of them are blanked off too. Now, the only things I can think of to add is launch control, a missile launcher, and ejector seat. Maybe that's why they're not on there. Moving on. Second up is the instrument cluster. Now, the dials in the instrument cluster look like something out of the 1970s. Don't get me wrong, they don't look bad, but they just don't suit the rest of the car at all. They just need modernising. So, is it worth reviewing? Sort of, and should you buy one? Allow me to explain. There is one more thing I don't like about this car, and that's the look of it. It just doesn't look very exciting, does it? It doesn't say, look at me, I look nice, don't I? No, you don't. In fact, the only thing I do like the look of it is the exterior colour. It's a nice colour. I'll give Skoda that. It really is a nice colour. So, to answer the question, should you buy one? Well, if you like the look of it, then of course, because it is a good, reliable and very practical car. But if you're not so keen on the look of it, then wait until the new Octavia comes out later this year, or alternatively, look at the Ford Focus or the Volkswagen Golf, which are also very good cars. If you want to see my reviews in the past, you can click here or click here somewhere, or if you want to subscribe to me for future content, then click up here. Thank you very much for watching.